KTN News.
All right, those stories are also making headlines in our local dailies, and I'll start with our very own The Standard. And the headline there is Matiang'i now goes after evil judiciary. Matiang'i now goes after evil judiciary. Just to read just something above there. Tough talk. CS claimed Miguna was never in the custody of the Inspector General of Police, and the IG could not produce in court a man who was not in their hands. And of course, the Daily Nation, the headline there is, "We will expose biased judges, vows Matiang'i." We will expose biased judges, vows Matiang'i. And of course, on the Star, the headline is, "Investigate judges, Matiang'i tells MPs." Investigate judges, Matiang'i tells MP. And joining me in studio to just dissect some of those issues, to my immediate right is Kevin Osido, who is a governance expert. And next to him is Oliver Kipchumba, who is an advocate. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for making time. So this issue has gotten a new twist, the whole Miguna issue we are seeing here. Matiang'i says the judiciary is evil. What are your thoughts about this, Kevin?
First and foremost, thank you so much for this opportunity, and good morning to this cold time.
Yeah.
Now, on Miguna, I think we need to probably move on to discussing serious and important issues about this country, and these are issues which are about national development. These are issues about county service delivery to the people. Of course, we cannot escape the fact that very many Kenyans go through what Miguna has gone through, albeit in silence. Most of us do not like public glare and media attention and all this. Lastly is that Miguna issue presents a very good test to our constitution, rather with regards to two things. One is independence of institutions, which is now the executive and the judiciary. What needs to happen when now there is an issue with in institutions? The second test of time is indeed with regards to what is dual citizenship for Kenyans. So what does it really mean when I say I'm a Canadian and I'm also a Kenyan, or I'm a Kenyan and I'm also someone from Zimbabwe or from South Africa whatsoever? So I think if we can probably move this debate from the individual of Miguna and all the controversy that surround the issues, then that narrative or that conversation will then be able to help us respond to the questions of how do we push towards national development, because I believe that there are people who still empathize and seriously sympathize with Miguna on this issue. They have voices that need to be listened to. The second thing is independence of institutions. When the CS, who falls within the executive, accuses the judiciary of being biased, what therefore does the JSC do? What does institutions around the Office of the Chief Justice and our judicial frameworks and structures do with that kind of accusation or information? The last thing is national development, both county service delivery and just the aspect of supporting His Excellency the President on the Big Four, because I believe, and I am a firm believer in the Big Four, because it's about health service delivery, it's about food security and agriculture, it's about manufacturing, it's about affordable housing for Kenyans, and of course, expanding spaces for youth employment and empowerment. So it's good that Miguna's issue has been more or less topping headlines for almost a month or so now. But I think that we need to allow people that need to do their work, that therefore include the DCI, criminal investigations, to investigate issues that need investigations. We should allow JSC to also do its work insofar as the judiciary is concerned. The CS needs to really obey court orders. I think after 5 years, he'll be like any other Kenyan citizen, and these issues may really follow him, in my view. But over and above it, I think actually generally is about this country. What kind of country and what kind of future are we building with all these precedents that we are setting, whether positively or negatively?
Okay, Oliver, your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Ashley, for the opportunity. I believe the other point we need to make, besides what Mr. Osido is making, is that Miguna issue has metamorphosized. It's like a play. It has gone through nearly all scenes. It began as a personal liberty dispute. It has gone now. We are governance level and now touching on constitutional issues. But the important point we must make is this. It is good that we have such a matter so that we can test how strong and the realms of our constitution, so that we can know to what extent can this constitution stand the test of time. On issues of judicial independence and judicial authority, the constitution has given us what steps to take where. And it is good that we can now see, when we hear Matiang'i complain of such issues, we now understand how can we approach these issues. Judicial independence is guarded by the law. And whenever somebody has a complaint about the judiciary, it is addressed to the JSC, and the law has set down the procedure on how to handle such a matter. The law should be interpreted, implemented in a manner that it guards the rule of law, it protects growth, development, and matters of justice. As we interpret the law and as we safeguard individual rights, it should also safeguard the rights of the majority Kenyans in terms of development, in terms of growth as a nation, in terms of giving space for the Big Four to grow, and in terms of giving personal liberties, such that today, if you had a wrong against the state, you are guaranteed that your rights will be respected by a court of law. And that talks to the issue of respecting court orders. Court orders are never suggestions.
I like how you've talked about the law and rights, because I think one way or another, this affects us. Because there's this issue that the Cabinet Secretary raised yesterday, that Miguna got the ID illegally from the late Immigration Minister, the late Otieno Kajwang. Miguna was cleared to run for a seat, a gubernatorial seat. So which raises questions, because it comes back to us as citizens. You know, what next? If someone can illegally acquire something and be accepted to run for a seat, then where are we going as Kenya, Kevin?
Actually, that's a very interesting paradox, because the question is, and as I said earlier on, it's about test of institutions, really, because IEBC is also it is a constitutional commission that has responsibilities that it's supposed to really discharge. And to the extent that a commission is not able to do a basic due diligence test on a person running for as high as office, for an office like that of a governor, then serious questions really come up. And you and I and many Kenyans, almost all of us and the whole world knows that our elections have had issues. We had 2 elections happening within a span of a month or so, and that is just because we had serious issues. That therefore, this opportunity gives us that chance to be able to deal with them. And I think that, in fact, I am sure that what therefore needs to happen is, if we are going to discharge the Miguna issue in totality, then there are elements that we need to look at. One of them is criminality. Is it criminal? Was it criminal? Well, what was the process that Miguna used to be able to secure his national ID?
Yes.
The former minister then for immigration may not be here to give us evidence, but data exists. Today, if you go to GPO, to immigration, and you ask them, may I kindly have data about so-and-so? And you have the ID number, which is the basic minimum document that any Kenyan above the age of 18 is expected to really have, so that you're able to do certain things, including having a PIN number, including doing M-Pesa transactions. It means that an ID, therefore, is really your identification document. To the level that, therefore, this document was gained erroneously or in a fictitious manner. I think that, and that's why I mentioned earlier on DCI, so that then if we have issues to do with the investigations, and actually this is not a small thing, because if we left the political aspects of Miguna and NASA and Raila Odinga and the handshake, generally speaking, Miguna's issue presents serious tests of not only the Constitution, but indeed the institutions. And how we are going to discharge this is really going to set a step forward, either towards the gains that we are making for our Constitution or the losses. And therefore, that will then also present an opportunity for us to look at how do we bridge those gaps. Because it would not be right for us to just swallow this and say, the CS said Miguna, or I mean the PS for immigration said Miguna did not get his ID within the due process, and then we just write it on the newspapers, and Oliver and I and most of us come and talk about it, and we leave it at that, because any Kenyan, that is the basic minimum document that you need. So I think that, and I want to appeal to the institutions and the people that are concerned with this to really follow up this.
Okay.
And Miguna also, in my view, as a good friend, he needs to cooperate with institutions and processes so that we are able to discharge this man. Because if you look at his ID number vis-a-vis his date of birth, there is quite a huge gap.
It's almost as it's mine.
Exactly. So
right.
I think that really is an issue to be discharged.
All right. And of course, there is a petition against Fred Matiang'i that has been filed that he's not fit to hold public office. Do you think this is so, Oliver?
We must appreciate the petition filed against one Dr. Matiang'i in the view that all these, we have a new constitution, and the constitution gives us rights. If today I wake up in the morning and I realize that a certain public officer is not, in my own judgment, doing the right thing, I have been given the rights as a Kenyan to work, to petition Parliament through a memoranda, to tell them, look here, so and so should be kicked out. That is a right I have. Whether they'll be kicked out or not is a different thing altogether. But I think if today we were to go and write memorandas about each and every person to leave office for one thing or another, we will lose the point. Just the same way I was saying, if today everybody who is aggrieved with the court was to go to JSC, all of us will be lining up at JSC wanting Judge A and Judge B and Judge W to go out. So I think we must exercise these rights with a certain pinch. And this does not talk about the issues that it is wrong to do that. It is right. It gives Kenyans the ability and the value of the Constitution and their rights. When we say we have a very progressive Chapter 4 of our Constitution, of Bill of Rights, it must be seen. It should not be talk. It should be seen. The other thing about a person vying, a person who has no regularized citizenship vying, it is an issue about synergy within our Chapter 15 institutions. You realize that we have, up to now, people who are holding office and their academic credentials are unknown. It should not be happening in the 21st century Kenya. It should not be happening in this era of technology. Where our neck, why don't we get synergy between National Examination Council, EACC, the IBC, and all these commissions, and even criminal department, so that we know if Ashley has not been to Form 4, it is closed. We cannot go to court and argue. And we should also try to walk around our culture as a nation. The Constitution gives us other ways of sorting our problems. But how we resort to going to court is an issue I don't understand. And even Justice Kriegler noted, he said that Kenyans are litigious in nature. We have other orthogonal methods of sorting out problems.